Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for taking out the time to be with us today. And we welcome you all to our fourth in-house counsel program of this year. My name is Prasenjit Chakravarti, and I'm a M&A partner in our Khetan's corporate M&A group. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to this webinar to every one of you, whether you are in our audience in India or around the world. A bit about this particular webinar program. In-house Counsel Forum is a new program from Khetan this year following the tremendous success of the firm's virtual M&A programs over the last couple of years. In-house Counsel Forum is designed to be a private educational program and discussion forum tailored for in-house counsel teams in India. The program is structured to provide bespoke professional training and education, not only on substantive law, but also on management and other topics of interest for in-house counsel. The forum is private in the sense that participation is only by invitation, as you would have received, and not open to public at large. We issue invitations by email to general counsel, chief legal officers, and senior in-house counsels in clients, close associates of the firms. And those invitations are extended not only to those individuals concerned, but also members of the respective in-house teams. We hope through this process to provide continuous legal education and training to in-house teams on matters of interest to them and their companies. On the screen, you will see the agenda for today's webinar. In short, the format will be a discussion with our expert panel members, including a Q&A session with audience questions. We hope that the session will be an interactive one, and we invite you to ask questions during the webinar as issues arise. We have already received several questions in advance. If you have a question, please submit the question using the facility in this portal. If we cannot cover all the questions during the course of this webinar, we will respond offline by email separately after the webinar. Also, please note that after the webinar, we will send you the summary, the slides, whatever we present on today, and the recording of the webinar. The main purpose of the in-house legal team is to support business. It serves to achieve the corporate vision and goals. However, the path to success is often filled with challenges. In this session, we hope to uncover and discuss some of the key issues that are faced by in-house counsels in India today, and to share with you not only the problems which are being grappled with by in-house counsels, but hopefully potential solutions. In this screen, what you see right now is a summary of top key findings identified in 2023 Chief Legal Officer Survey conducted by the Association of Corporate Counsel. I know some of you have participated in this. You have told me separately also. So this is something you must take a look at. This is an annual global survey conducted by the ACC, the Associate Corporate Counsel, to identify key issues faced by corporate counsel and trends impacting corporate counsel. The 2023 survey reflects the views of nearly 900 in-house counsels in 35 countries and across 20 sectors, including small countries with revenue of less than $25 million US and large companies with revenues exceeding $50 billion US. So it's a large sample size, not an insignificant sample size. While issues faced by in-house counsel vary from sector to sector and from country to country, I'm sure that you can see on the screen that at least a few trends or issues which would be relevant to you and your company and the sector you operate in. If you have not read the survey report, it is worth reading. We will send you a link to you of this report after the webinar. Today, as I said, our focus is on big issues faced by Indian counsel. So let's make a start. And allow me to first introduce our eminent panelists for the day. Every person who is registered for this webinar today has already received an email which provides the credentials of the experts of our panelists today. So I will not spend much time in summarizing or repeating their credentials. Suffice to say that all of them have tremendous in-house experience, are excellent counsels, and are really well placed to shed guidance on this topic. First is Dr. Vivek Mittal, who is the Global General Counsel of Dr. Reddy's Laboratories Limited. And next on the screen is Mr. Bhaskar Chandran, really senior Group General Counsel of the GMR Group. On the third member on the screen is Ms. Vidyut Gulati. Unfortunately, Vidyut, who is General Counsel and Director of Legal of Bharti Airtel, had a last minute work exigency, so she could not join this particular webinar. However, I did manage to have off-line conversation which was recorded with her on some of the key aspects we will touch upon today. We will play the video during the course of this webinar so that you can get the benefits of her experience and her insights as well. Well, so I think without further ado, why don't we straight away dive into it. Mitesh, if I can request you to take off the slides, and then we can get started with the session. So while Mitesh does that, let me ask you, Vivek and Bhaskar, why don't you give a brief overview about yourself, the company, the sector in which it operates, and more importantly, some of the big picture issues, the challenges which your company grapples with as a general counsel, just to get things started. Then we of course will dive into the specific questions for you.
Sure. Thanks. And Vivek, you'll go first, please.
Thank you, Bhaskar. While I was gonna say we comes first and we later, but I thought that since you gave me this opportunity, thank you for that. So I'm Vivek Mittal. People call me Dr. Vivek Mittal. I'm a PhD in commerce, law graduate, and a company secretary. I'm Global General Counsel for Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. I joined them about 2 years ago. Just to give you a little bit of background about my team and DRL. First, DRL is a generic pharmaceutical company, turnover of about 25,000 crores. We actually declared our results a few days back, and they were excellent. I would suggest that you please go and check our exceptional performance. We are spread across globe. We have about 30 to 35 onshore offices where our people sit. You name any territory, probably we'll have a presence there. Any reasonable territory. Starting from US, largest business, then Latin America, Colombia, Mexico, Brazil, China, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, Switzerland, Germany. You probably name any country, South Africa, Middle East, wherever. I have a large team because of this presence. I have a large team of about 80 lawyers and professionals working for this team and for this company. Why 80 or 85 or whatever that number is? That because me and my office manages 3 core functions. One is legal, one is ethics and compliance. We are a US listed company, so our ethical standards and compliance are very, very heavy. And third is data privacy. We have created a special office for data privacy because we think that that's one thing which is going to affect our businesses a lot. Even today, it affects our businesses because we are a global company. We do transfer data from one country to another country. We are present in India, but this is a global hub in one sense, but we do have large presence in other territories. Let's say Russia CIS region is also there. Because of our type of business and because the way we are structured, that brings in a lot of complexities around how we operate. And that's why this large team, people actually want onshore presence, foot on the ground. And I have legal team and compliance team sitting in the region. So let's say people sitting in US, people sitting in Colombia, people sitting in Russia, CIS region, even Russia, CIS region, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Romania. You know, it's a challenge for the organization, but very well-rounded experience for lawyers like us, because we get exposed to all territories and what's happening. Just to give an example, not a good thing, but Russia-Ukraine war brought in new complexities, new challenges of trade compliance, sanctions. Again, what's brewing, let's say, in relation to China, what's happening in US. You know, the mindset of protectionism that is evolving around the world brings in a lot of challenges. The emerging laws, whatever are happening, stringency of law, I think I want to pick up that, brings in lot of challenges. Challenges are different from territory to territories. Again, some bring in labor challenges, some bring in business challenges, some bring in ease of doing business challenges. And that's the complexity we live in on everyday basis. And this is everyday war that we go to as a legal team and compliance team and data privacy team. And we have to assure the businesses and the board and the management that don't worry, we are there for you. Everything is gonna be fine. You're gonna run your business as usual. We'll structure everything for you. And if there is any issue, litigation, regulation, threat, then we are there to handhold you. So business enabler team, support, high support team, that's the environment we live in. So that's the small introduction about me and my team. Over to you, Bhaskar.
Thanks. And thanks for giving the opportunity in terms of having this conversation with you. I see this more as one, of course, sharing my experience, which I've acquired over these years. At the same time, I'm also looking up to the participants where I can also pick up something and learn something, through this experience and through this webinar today. My name is Bhaskar Chandran, and I'm a third generation lawyer. So law is something that that's the only thing that I knew, and I've been in this field for almost now. Prasenjit, after you'd asked me to introduce myself, I looked at I've been in this for almost 37 years now, and 4 years I practiced law, and the 33 years I've been in-house. I've been in-house in different companies and different companies. I've been leading the legal function for almost close to 20 years now, and currently I'm the Group General Counsel of the GMR Group, and I've been with them for close to 7 years now as their Group General Counsel. And prior to this, I was with the Tata Group. I was with the Tata Group for 2 terms, one 94-2000, then 2012-16. Last time I was with the Tata Group as the President, Legal, Regulatory, and Company Secretary of the Tata Teleservices. I've been with multinationals as well, Syngenta. I've been with Monsanto at Director Legal. Syngenta, I was abroad for some time as well. So I come with an experience of different sectors. I come with an experience in terms of being part of Indian companies, multinational companies. Coming to GMR, we are one of the largest infrastructure player in India and abroad as well. We have 4 different lines of businesses. I'm the Group General Counsel. I take care of all the business verticals of the GMR Group. We are into airports, and one of the key DNA of this group is to construct quality assets in India. And we run the Delhi Airport, and Delhi Airport is ranked one of the best airports in the world. It has won several accolades, and so has our Hyderabad Airport. In fact, I just got a message about 2 days back that Hyderabad Airport has been named as one of the best in terms of punctuality. So we are really proud of the assets that we build and the nation building that we do, and the way in which we maintain it and support the customer service and the customer orientation is something that we all focus upon. We have recently commissioned the new airport in Goa, one of the most beautiful airport that we have built in Goa. and as we speak. And then we are also building airports in Vizag and also in Nagpur. Very shortly we'll be doing that as well. And we have airports outside of India as well. In Philippines, we are building an airport in Greece. And so one of the big business focus is the airport sector for us. That's one. Second is we are into energy sector, and we produce electricity. We produce all forms of electricity. We produce in different forms, gas-based, thermal, and we are into hydro. We are into solar. Currently, we would be building a hydro plant in Nepal, which is very unique in terms of 3 different countries being part of this. Nepal, Bangladesh, and India, which is very unique as far as the the different countries being involved in the electricity generation and transportation. We have also into transport and urban infra. We build quality roads in India. We build the railway line, World Bank funded DFCC railway lines. So we are basically into the infra space. Apart from infra, we are into sports as well. We have a team in IPL. We have a team in Dubai. We are into the Coco. We are into the Kabaddi, and basically we are into the sports business as well. Coming back to the experience, what I would like to share today in terms of from the infrastructure space, it's a very, very, very challenging sector. There are different factors that influences the business, that influence the growth, that influences how you set up your business, the regulatory issues, the policy issues, the economic and social and environmental and safety and construction risk. All those things are there part of this. While all these issues are there, one, it provides a phenomenal opportunity for a talented group of people. Lawyers are exceptionally critical in this business. Lawyers play a very, very, very pivotal role. And just to go back and what Vivek talked about, and in GMR, Vivek, lawyers only do legal things. We don't do anything else apart from law. And we are the compliance. Of course, we support the compliance. We support the other aspects, but something we are exceptionally focused in terms of the business, and all these lawyers are business partners at the end of the day. So it's these challenges, and it is the challenges that is very clearly associated with the sector per se, and the things that we operate at this point of time is something that makes our life extremely, extremely challenging, at the same time extremely interesting as well. Because what we do at GMR, we very closely, we work with business and we support the business in a very positive way. So one of the aspects that I would be focusing on today is that how important is the business partnering and how important is the solution orientation, which absolutely is an essential traits and characteristics for any lawyer. Thank you, and I really look forward to interacting with you, and I'm sure there will be a learning for me as well at the end of the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Bhaskar and Vivek, for a wonderful insight and overview. And really, no wonder, I think you were also very clear that your respective companies are doing remarkably well. And I think both of you played an instrumental role in that for your vast experience in very wise counsel as lawyers. So I think let's dive into some specifics. And the first question I will actually request again, Bhaskar and Vivek, address to both of you, because it's a kind of common theme question. How does the culture of your company impact what you and your team does? Maybe Bhaskar, you can go first.
Yeah, this time be first.
Thanks. I guess we talked about, I gave a little bit of background about the group and the GMR Group and what it does. We are one of the global leaders in infrastructure, and we build world-class projects in India and abroad. The culture of the organization plays an exceptional critical role in the things that we do. The culture manifests in the core values and beliefs that we uphold. And we are basically the entire business is actually on a 7 pillars at this point of time in terms of the core values that we believe in, and then we live day in and day out. To begin with, the first and the foremost, as far as the group is concerned, is not business. It is a humility. We believe in humility, and we start entire thing with a very humble and the humility at the core of everything that we do. We move on to the respect for individuals. Social responsibility is one of the big pillar for us. Entrepreneurship, learning and inner excellence, teamwork and relationship, all these things into delivering the promise. Delivering the promise at the end of the day is a very important thing, but that's built on 6 other pillars, starting from humility that I talked about. I just would like to give a little bit of background in terms of, the way in which we even recruit people. The entire values are tested when somebody comes on board with this group. When I was being interviewed 7 years before, and while I came with, of course, with the Tata Group pedigree of Tatas, Monsanto, Syngenta, and different, and dealing with different complex issues in telecom, different complex issues in the other aspects of it. But the fundamental after all those things is that how you are going to leave the values of GMR and how you can be integrated into the values that we all, the way where the group has been built upon over these years. That's something very, very key for us. We prioritize on the transparency and the ethical behavior, and we work on teamwork. We work on collaboration with the other stakeholders. Accountability and responsibility is very important. If there is a success, it is we. If there is a failure, it is always I. And that's how the leaders look at it in GMR. Efficiency, speed is very important. At the end of the day, we as lawyers, okay, it's not important just to give a right solution. The speed in which you give the solution, the speed in which you come back with different options and things like this is very, very important for us. I guess that upholding these values is in everything that we do, and coupled with the humility and the ethical considerations is the forefront of the decision making process. Just to summarize, culture of the organization and the things that I talked about in terms of the core values and beliefs is the theme of everything that we do, and that's how we are structured, and that's how we have been successful as well.
Vivek, to supplement here.
Thanks for this. We as a company, we take pride in relation to our culture. We say that we are a company which is built on the culture rather than the people, right? Means the culture comes first, and we actually say that people should adopt that culture. So the culture which we are trying to build in, and we have defined that culture, is Aspire as a behavior. Aspire A is aspirational growth mindset. Second is speed and rigor in execution. Third is people leadership. Fourth is innovation. Fifth, R is result driven, and E is excellence focus. So we define it as Aspire behavior. And what we do in our organization is that we actually, whenever we do a performance ratings, we actually judge people on their operational performance, on their Aspire behavior, both. And they are the balance is 50-50. Whenever we see a person is lacking in Aspire behavior, it affects a person in two manners. One is, of course, the person's growth actually is stalled in the company. And also we try and see how we can bridge the gap. And there are many instances within my team then that we say whether this person needs a coach, whether this person can be trained to have the Aspire behavior, can this person live up to the expectation of the behavior. So in our company, the behaviors are identified, they are documented, and we whenever we take any person, we actually weigh that person in relation to those behavior, and then we take the person in. And after person comes in, if the person is not fitting into the culture, then we are very open about the conversation we do with the person that, see, this is our culture, you're not fitting in. We will work with you to change the culture in you, change the behavior in you, so that you gel in the culture. The purpose is that when people come in, they should be painted in one color, and our color is purple. We say that people should be painted in one color, so that we get rid of seniority, we get rid of gender, we get rid of knowledge, and we say that the thing which we want to take it forward is towards the company rather than individual behavior or individual performances. Whenever I orient my team, I always talk about team rather than individual. I always say that culture of respect, culture of aspire behaviors which we demonstrate will take us forward, take the entire company forward. And when all people think alike, and I can trust a person, that person has this behavior in his mind and his act, then the trust is built up, and then we don't need to worry about a person is playing politics, person is thinking otherwise. I think that then we only look towards the goal rather than behavior. And hence I keep telling my team that even me, whenever I intake any person, I intake based on the person's behavior, the person's of course operational knowledge is very important, and domain knowledge is very important, but also how the person is mannered, how the person is behaving, whether that person fits into aspire behavior. This is because of two things. One is, of course, we don't want a mismatch. It will be injustice for that person, that if we take a person and we know from the beginning that person is a mismatch, and we set the person for the failure rather than to the success. Also for the organization. So in our company specifically, coming back to the short and long of it, is that culture is one of the most important aspects in our company, and we intake people while we weigh them in relation to their behavior, and we want to create one culture for our organization so that everything else is sorted in life and we only work towards the goal.
Right. Thank you very much, Bhaskar and Vivek. I think clearly culture has played a key part, I think, in a sustained growth story in your respective companies, because I think without robust, sound, clear culture and ethos, you can maybe test success in pockets, not a sustained growth. I think that's so important. In fact, when you were telling all this, it almost resonated with me as Khetan's, because Khetan's policies also are pretty similar to what you just mentioned. It was music to my ears. So I think very important culture. I think that's the first point. The next question now I will go to is actually slightly tricky one, because with senior leaders like you, you're just not lawyers, you're also business leaders. The expectation is just not giving legal advice. So how do you rationalize the demands of being a business leader along with, well, your core skills as a lawyer? How do you dovetail the two, and how do you rationalize these two demands? This time,
Vivek,
maybe we first, Vivek. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so Prasanjit and Bhaskar, and to the audience, I must say that I have grown into what I'm saying today. There was a time when I used to get a comment that Vivek, while technically you're very strong, the legal point in which you make is very strong, but we have not opened a law firm here. Please give a business-oriented advice rather than purely legal advice. And I used to think that point in time that it's a fair legal point, why somebody should give up on this. But to be very honest, again, I've grown towards this thing that as a leader, you sometimes, and I'm in the best position to make a business legal call rather than a business person taking a legal call. So what I keep doing in my function right now, that I always weigh what is the risk versus the reward, whether we can take that risk and let the business go, because business is all about risk, right? If there is no risk, there is no business. And we used to read it that what is business? Business is risk taking. Unless you take the risk, you will not be able to go forward. Hence, in doing any business, there will be a legal risk. I think the question is how well you weigh the business risk and how well you either structure around it or let it go. Just to give you a very small example, I'm not suggesting confidentiality agreements are not very important. We do some 100 confidentiality agreement every day, but in those we still need to weigh, right, which clause to include, which clause to let go, whether this clause is practically possible to be executed, enforced, or whether or not. So I think the expectation from management is that at my level, I should be taking those business legal calls and tell management that while there is a business risk, but you can still go ahead and take this business risk, because legally this is how it's going to play out. This is how you're going to go ahead, and hence the possibility of happening is less than 50%, more than 50%, and we keep doing it all the time at DRL. That we say and we actually define the possibility, that its possibility is less than 20%, less than 10%, less than 50%, and based on that we say that okay, we can go ahead, we need to enter into an agreement, we need to provide these clauses in the agreement, we can let it go, because there are a lot of push and pulls happening in business all the time. So the short answer again is that I think at leadership level, at least at our level, and I think I can comment about Bhaskar as well, that we have to take business legal calls. We cannot be just lawyers. And the demand from business now is that you just cannot be a lawyer. You need to understand our business very well. Also, just to add, our current CEO, Aris Israeli, he keeps on telling us that just being a lawyer doesn't help. You need to be instead of cost center, you should be a profit center. Think about it, how you can generate profit in your business, in your department. How can you generate more money for the company while you play a legal role? So he says that you are a business person first because you're working for a commercial company, and then you are a lawyer. And that's the orientation I see from a lot of business leaders nowadays. The demand is that you just cannot be lawyers because you are in-house. If you want to be lawyer, then go to a law firm and practice law. If you are in-house, handhold the business, give them solution, risk weigh, take call, be with them while they are taking the decision. It cannot be, oh, I said, take your call. No. We'll say that, okay, we are taking this call together. If tomorrow anything happens, we'll be with you. So, Bhaskar, over to you.
No, I'm not going to say anything different than what you said, Vivek. I guess that you summed it very well, and then you articulated that exceptionally well in terms of what this is all about, and in terms of the business leader and the legal advisor. First of all, just to supplement what you said, to me, I think these are all completely, seemingly opposite roles. And it's always, it's always a myth that okay, you are a great business person, then you don't have you overlook the legal and the legal risk involved, or if you are a great lawyer, you are not a business enabler. I think it appears to be seemingly opposite in my view, but I guess it is not. It is not, because at the end of the day, we all work towards the common goal of the company. At the end of the day, we are here, we come with a particular expertise to give a solution at the end of the day for the bottom line of the company and for the effective growth of the company. So therefore, the goals are aligned at all points of time. That's one. Then we also talked about the culture, we talked about the values, we talked about how we do this. I guess that the unique challenge here is, how do you balance the fundamental functional expertise that you have as a legal professional with the demand of a business leader? In my view, we do it in my personal experience, we have done it in the following ways. First and foremost, you have to have a deep understanding of the business. You need to have a deep understanding of the sectors that you operate. And for example, I'm in airports, I'm in energy, transport, and infra. You need to know what this business is all about. While I was growing up as a junior person or at a middle level person, I would first read that if Prasenjit sends me a Kaitan report, I would read that first. Today, I spend more of my time in reading a McKinsey report than a Kaitan report today, because I truly believe, one, how do you understand the business? How do you understand the sector? What are all the issues at the end of the day that you face from different, what are the industry trend that that's happening in the airport sector? What are the the market conditions of the electricity sector? How do you understand the strategic goals of the company? How do you then understand the competition that you have? So this is something, in my view, the uppermost thing as leaders, one should spend time in terms of understanding and knowing the business. That's the first and foremost. Then comes the next aspect in terms of what is your relationship, which Vivek, which you alluded to, which you talked about. What is the relationship that you have with your business, so-called business leaders? There, the core value that comes in is the trust and the relationship. If you are a person who provides just not a legal solution, but provides a solution which is a business enabler, then you are taken at face value. And that comes with trust, that comes with relationship, that comes with a fundamental mindset that you have to provide a solution and not be a bottleneck at every point of time. Lawyers can be a bottleneck. Lawyers can say the law, like Vivek talked about. Okay, they can come back and say this is the law and that's it. But that doesn't solve a problem. At the end of the day, we need to give a meaningful solution, which of course are legally sustainable over a period of time. So I guess the mantra that I have experienced over years, one of course is the knowledge that I talked about. We must have the legal knowledge and the legal expertise and the skills and competencies from a legal sector. Second thing is, in my view, how do you understand the business and what are all the business triggers, what are all the business issues that we have and the risk associated with that. And the third aspect is that you find a solution at the end of the day, rather than giving a sort of an opinion. There is a difference in giving a legal opinion to providing a legal solution. There is a huge difference at the end of the day. Of course, your legal opinion is very important. You're not going to overcome that. But if you give an opinion coupled with a solution at the end of the day, you would be an outstanding counsel who would understand, who would be wanted by the business at all points of time, which we talked about. And last, in my view, is the trust and relationship which you build over a period of time with your colleagues. Once you reach a level, just to summarize this point, once you reach a level, you are a leader first, than a functional expert. So how do you balance the qualities of the leadership qualities? How do you balance it and the leadership traits with your functional expertise is the key thing. And it's a scientific way of doing it, and one learns it over a period of time. One learns it through experience. One learns it, being in difficult situations, being in difficult, complex, sensitive, handling all those things. One learns it, but at the end of the day, the success mantra for me is balancing how do you balance the leadership traits with your functional expertise. It has worked for me over the years. I've been, I say it with humbleness that, I've been a successful person in the organization that I work for. I've earned the respect as a business leader, of course, by leading this legal function. And this has been the only thing that I've been successful. And I have very, very, what do you call? I make sure that, this particular thing I don't lose track of at any point of time.
Excellent. I think that was some really hard-hitting points, both by Vivek and Bhaskar. Very important to understand the pulse of the business, what the business needs, be enablers, not roadblockers, be pragmatic in the approach. And while Vivek, on a lighter note, made reference to law firms a couple of times, Ketan gives practical advice. I don't have other firms. So you should work with us more, though. I think. Moving on to the next question, I think which actually Bhaskar to you, but I think you've already touched upon, but maybe a little bit again, interpersonal skills you touched upon, very important to build a rapport, etc. What sort of relationship do you seek with your senior executive team, business leaders, in order to perform your role most efficiently, and how does that work practically?
I guess it goes back to the things that I've been talking about and which I've articulated earlier. I guess the connection between the legal and business is exceptionally critical, and it's not that you work in silos, and then which Vivek also talked about, right? How intertwined they are and how they need to work in harmony with both this, with business and legal is exceptionally important. The Inhouse team, in my view, they should be perfectly aligned with the strategy, company's overall strategy. and their understanding of the core business strategy is exceptionally critical, and that's the one that your effective resources of the legal team can be better utilized and then contribute better unto the company's success and growth if your is aligned with the business strategy. It can be done in multiple ways, and as I said that it's a learning, and then it's not a one-day thing. It's over a period of time, which I talked about in terms of understanding business through reading the industry, understanding from the industry forums and being part of this. One of the key aspects, and we at GMR, and which we do, is that every lawyer is part of the business meetings, and the lawyers are integral part of everything that happens in strategy meetings, and your annual strategy meetings, your monthly performance of the business, and so on and so forth. The legal team is part of that. So there is a lot of learning what the legal team gets in terms of understanding the business, understanding how the risk involved in this, and more importantly, what are their pain points. We have to understand the pain points of business. Only then you will be able to come back with solution. And we we make sure that all lawyers are part of the strategy / the business meetings of the group. Then they become a cord between the business and the outside lawyers, and they are responsible for ensuring that the business needs and business are articulated to the outside counsel in a particular issue. And more importantly, what happens is that we also make sure that the outside legal firms we bring in, and what we do is that in all of our annual conferences, like if there is an airport conference which happens on an annual basis, and it's a 3-day conference, we bring all the law firms who help us on the airport sector to come in. Similarly, we do it in the energy sector as well, that we bring in, and they go through they understand the business, they interact with the business folks directly, and they go through with our overall strategy and things like this. So therefore, how do you build relationship and how do you build these two things together becomes exceptionally important in the things that we do. We are a successful organization, the reason being that we are able to marry these two things in an absolute seamless manner, and that's really helped us. And to go back in terms of what I said earlier as well, is that in GMR, the legal function is purely a legal function. It doesn't do anything else. It's a purely involved in the legal aspects, involved with business partnering, understanding techno-commercial issues and things like this. So we at GMR foster the culture of a business lawyer far more than maybe probably any other company I've been part of in the past. So I guess that that's been the success story. That's been the mantra that we have been following, and we have been successful in doing that also.
Excellent. Thanks, Bhaskar. I'm sure this will be very helpful for our audience members, to imbibe, and people who are following it, it will also resonate with this success mantra, as you put it. The next question is really going to sector specificity, and as you could see from the survey also, the ACC sectoral challenges assumes a lot of significance, and given both Bhaskar and Vivek, you both operate in very different sectors, two questions specifically: what are the key risks impacting your business with legal implications, and how do you manage those risks? And out of those risks, how significant is the regulatory risk in the universe of risks which may impact your business, and how are you managing it?
I'll go first. Yeah. So pharma companies are all about regulations and nothing else. If you see, starting from product development to product manufacturing to product marketing to product consumption to product research, is all about regulations. The simple reason is because we are the company which touches human lives, right? Any medicine which we produce, every single pill which we produce is affecting human life. And people are very, very sensitive about it. And hence, Of course, these regulations have evolved over the period of time. Hence, these are so many regulations, starting from how you do research, what kind of clinical trials you do, what are the regulations around clinical trials, what are the outcomes, how do you apply for the registration, how do you apply for the product registrations, how do you produce, even on that production, where do you produce, etc., etc. So just to give you a complexity, again, just to throw the complexity, we operate in about 120 countries, right? Large countries are again US, Russia, CIS region, European region. Each country will have their own pharmaceutical related laws, that how you can distribute pharmaceutical product in that country. So just to give an example, US FDA, very, very common, people know it, and that's why I'm talking about it. But there is Japan, there is Brazil. Each one of them will have their, FDAs, and each one of have their drugs and cosmetic like laws. So let's take example of US. US says that if you have to market product in US, you have to comply with local regulations. And for that local regulations, we have our enforcement body, which is FDA, Food and Drug Administration. They will come and visit your plant anywhere in the world, because from that plant you're supplying products to us. Consider our entire business is dependent upon whether those plants are US GMP compliant or not. And if tomorrow any regulation changes, either we change some processes in our plant, or we are out of business. So that's one aspect which I want to talk about. Other aspect is pricing regulation. There's a lot of pressure on pharmaceutical companies across the globe to make the medicines affordable. And third aspect is accessibility, which I'll come to that, but affordability. Consider US, where as soon as drug goes off patent, the price gets reduced by 90%. And then every year that price gets reduced by 30-40%. Consider that you are selling a drug for, let's say, $100 a pill. Immediately after patent expiry, it becomes $10. After that, it becomes $7. After that, it becomes $5, and so on and so forth. So unless you are ready to meet those regulations, either pricing or manufacturing, you're out of business. So our entire strategy revolves around identification of product, registration, whether you can develop those products according to the regulations, whether you can manufacture according to the regulations, whether you can market according to the regulations. And there are product complexities where you have to handhold customers. So basically, you have to have a patient support program where people will register themselves to the website, and you will also monitor how much drug they are taking, if they are having any reactions to that drug, if they are reporting, if that reporting, then you have to coach them that if this happens, if this reaction happens, then what can you do, etc., etc. So the complexities are not single. Complexities are not just approval of government authorities that go ahead and manufacture. Complexities are too many, too far in relation to regulations. And that I gave you example of only one territory. So I will just complicate it a little bit more. From one plant, let's say we manufacture for Brazil, we manufacture for US, we manufacture for Japan, and we manufacture for India. So same plant will have to meet regulations of all those 4 countries. And all those 4 FDAs can come and visit your plant, whether your plant is compliant in according to the regulations of those territories. Then only you will be able to manufacture and supply product in those territories. So again, short answer, we are very, very heavily regulated. I'm not complaining, because if it is not regulated, then everyone will get into this business, and this business anyways is commoditized, will become more and more commoditized. That means wiping off commercial margins. But regulation brings in a lot of challenges in our day-to-day business, in our structuring of agreements. So it starts from identification of product, that what are the regulations. Then it starts with clinical trials, then it starts with agreement of in relation to those clinical trials, then it starts with manufacturing, then it starts with third-party manufacturing agreement. It weaves in every aspect of our business, and that's what we live and breathe. That's how pharmaceutical lawyers are, said that we have all kind of exposure, starting from patents, from normal IPR to manufacturing to environmental to ESG nowadays to sustainability and whatnot. So that's the sort of answer for it. But happy to talk about more and more. I take pride in working for pharmaceutical companies because we affect people's life, especially generic companies like us, which make medicines more affordable, more accessible, and our mantra is good health can't wait. We don't want people to wait for good health, and we will provide access to those medicines.
Clearly, it's a topic very close to your heart. I know you can go on, and given the time constraints, I think I will interject that maybe because Bhaskar to supplement you, and we will hear more about it offline. Maybe Bhaskar.
No, but I guess that I'm not in the same space as Vivek is, and I guess that Vivek, since you are part of multiple different jurisdictions and different laws of different countries and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, I would like to and again, airports, energy are all, they're all basically driven by one, the either a PPA, the power purchase agreement, or what you call a concession agreement in airports. They're basically governed by these agreements per se. And the gamut of issues that we talk about, regulatory policy issues, and all those things, compliance, they all play as important a role as to the other sectors. But I would like to talk about not in terms of what the issues are, but I would like to share how do we manage those issues at the end of the day. I think I would like to spend a little bit of time on that. The point here is that we believe as business lawyers not to have an issue and then provide a solution. The entire mindset that we have is to identify the risks in advance, be a business partner, and how do you provide or a framework before it becomes an issue at the end of the day. That's far more important for us rather than having an issue and then doing a litigation or those sort of we work far more proactively in terms of identifying these risks and ensuring that these risks are mitigated at the very beginning itself, rather than it never becomes an issue at the end of the day. The second aspect that we work with is that the contracts that we do, we spend a lot of time in terms of understanding before we enter into a contract. The contracts become a very important factor in the risk mitigation. And you could have, you may be building a plant, you may have a potential delay at the end of the day. You may be building, there could be contractual disputes that you come out with. So how do you foresee these aspects and work around in terms of in terms of providing solutions? For example, our contracts are all 30 years, 60 years. We get a concession for 30 years, extendable by another 60 years. So when you sign a contract for 30-year period, you should have a vision how the loss would be in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and 30 years. You should be able to visualize that. Only then you will be able to put a business model in advance at the very beginning. So therefore, to answer this, to the regulatory risk that that we have, the foresight in terms of understanding the contract over a period of the next foreseeable future is very, very important. Then the things that Vivek talked about, having a compliance mechanism, having risk assessment committees to oversee compliances, are all something that any industry, any company would do. And Vivek, we also follow the same process. The last important thing is that how do you get involved in the regulation to make sure that the contract that you have, the regulatory regime is far more predictable, far more certain over a sustained period. So we work a lot with in terms of understanding this. All our lawyers have is, they go through the regulatory experience, they go through and work with the business and the regulatory folks at the end of the day to have a complete understanding of all those things. And more importantly, what I said is that it's not about lawyers providing or getting involved at the time of an issue. It's a question of how you get involved in the very beginning, and not to have an issue, not to have a problem, not to have how do you mitigate these issues becomes important. So very similar to Vivek, what you said, a little bit of changes that, additions I would like to add in terms of what you articulated.
Terrific. No, that's very insightful. Thanks, Vivek and Bhaskar. That was a very important insight given the sectoral diversity. I think at this point, maybe we play my conversation with Vidyut. Mitesh, if you can play that video for the benefit of our audience members, and then we will resume our conversation.
Thanks, Prasanjit. Thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure to share my views with you. So I have been with the group for about close to 5.5 years now. I'm the general counsel for the Bharti Airtel Group and oversee all legal matters on an end-to-end basis. I also oversee compliance and ESG at the organization.
Excellent. That's a long time, isn't it? And how many lawyers do you have in your legal team at Bharti Airtel?
So the way we're set up at the headquarters, we have a team of about 20 people, which is essentially the corporate legal team that we have out of Airtel Center. We do have our nodal spokes, which is a combined L&R team, which is legal and regulatory, and they spread all across the circle. So that's another additional 40 people, I would say. I think although we are well recognized as a very strong player for the economy, I think our contributions came into sharp focus, especially during the COVID time, where being an essential service, the whole organization was really back in office. I would say essentially to make sure that the lights were on, we were keeping the entire nation connected. So all in all, I would say that Airtel has played a very stellar role in the manner in which the telecom sector has unfolded in the country.
Yeah, indeed. I completely agree with that, and I'm really hats off for stellar performance during lockdown. But how does this sector impact your work as in-house counsel and also that of your team?
So that's an interesting question. In my time at private practice, one has looked at sectors on an agnostic basis. But when I look back at the last 5.5 years, working in a highly regulated sector obviously has its own set of nuances and challenges, right? We are a very heavily regulated, legacy regulated sector. We have various guidelines, rules and regulations, licensing regime, which sort of puts its arm around how we operate from a business perspective. So a very deep understanding of the interplay of the regulations in this particular sector, I would say, is very critical, because it really has an impact on our day-to-day operations. Something as simple as what goes into a customer acquisition form, that is the level of detailing in terms of how we are regulated. I think what's interesting for me to see now is the new policy and the bills which are shaping up, whether it's the new telecom bill or some of the recent telecom reforms which have come about. And I think the interplay between industry input and how the legislative framework is evolving is an extremely exciting space, right? You have the ability to now reset regulations and have them structured in a pragmatic, business-friendly manner, where they balance both governmental regulatory requirements as well as facilitate business. So I mean, all in all, to answer your question, I mean, for a sector like telecom, I think regulations have a particular sort of impact on our day-to-day operations as opposed to some of the other sectors.
Interesting. So I think with a large team, as you mentioned, it was supervised and a regulated sector, what are the biggest challenges which I think you confront, and I think you, in your estimate, other GCs similarly placed may also be confronting in their day-to-day operations?
It's a very broad question, and I think it really depends on sector to sector, company to company. I think as far as, key areas or key issues which keep me awake at night more often than not, I would say that, part of it also comes from the previous question that you raised, that we are a regulated sector, we are a legacy sector, we've been around many years. There is a lot of strategic litigation that we sort of largely have our hands full with. So for me, one of the priorities is, of course, steering our litigation to a balanced conclusion. Making sure that we've, all the business considerations or the case that we take to court is well rounded in terms of having all the strategic inputs. I would say, other areas which are critical and important, I think the role of a general counsel has evolved so much, right? We are all corporate commercial counsels at the end of the day, making, the endeavor is to make sure that we enable and facilitate business, further business. At the same time, there is such a critical role of being able, of having to balance business with legal requirements, making sure that you're kosher from a regulatory perspective. Governance standards is something which is very critical to us as an organization. It's always been at the heart of how we've operated. So I would say, strategic litigation, compliance, and I think more importantly, as you see the landscape developing, ESG, which is environment, social, and governance, is becoming such a key focus areas, right? And I mean, the story unfolded for us a couple of years ago when we signed the GSMA Pact based on the Paris Accord. But it's a long journey. It's not a short journey. So I think that's another key area of focus for us. I would definitely say that, advising the senior management, making sure that the legal team is evolving in a manner that they're very much a part of the business pods right from the inception, are areas where I think increasingly focus from general counsels is required.
Excellent. So lots of, I would say, challenges which I see you have to grapple with and deal. And as they say, with challenges comes opportunities. So next question is on opportunities. What opportunities do you foresee as a general counsel for your team in the future?
So like I said, the endeavor is to make sure that we are trusted business advisors, we are, trusted business partners, just positioning the in-house legal team as one which has depth of expertise, and at the same time, a deep understanding of the business. I really do feel that, the role of in-house teams has evolved so much in the last 10-15 years. There was a point in time where, college graduates would not necessarily look at in-house roles as the first sort of place where they would want to end up. Law firms was where one would focus. But I think the amount of value that in-house counsels can actually deliver and add is tremendous. The role has changed so much. Of course, there are external counsels, and there's depth of legal expertise, but the fact that an external counsel really marries the business requirements with the legal landscape, and at times even translates that to external counsels, is so critical. So my focus, in terms of how we shape the internal legal teams, has really been on building capability, building depth, internalizing a lot of our work, and of course we reach out to external counsels on specific deals where we do require expertise, let's say in court or otherwise on certain transactions. But the endeavor is to make sure that we have a robust internal legal team, and who better can do it than someone who's sitting with the business guys day in day out and sort of absorbing the business nuances.
Nutshell. So thank you very much, Vidyut, for taking up the time for doing this.
Thank you, Prasanjit. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
Great. So I think before resuming, I have got a series of questions, and I think this one is an interesting one. This is from Tuhina Chakrabarti from Alipo. The question she's asking is, just because it's a long question, but I'm just paraphrasing it. Just because legal function does not contribute towards generation of revenue, the contribution of this function, that is legal function, is often not recognized. How can we work towards changing that? Very practical question.
Bhaskar, you want to go first?
No, but I guess it's a tough question, but at the same time, the answer lies in ourselves, not in the other person. At the end of the day, I truly believe in the success of any individual belongs to him and not to the others. And therefore I would one the things that the lawyers in the GMR group, they have been recognized always, is for the following traits and competencies. One, the knowledge that they bring in. Two, the solutions that they provide. And three, the speed in which they provide the solutions. And four, the sustainability of, at the end of the day, by giving these solutions. And these are all the traits that one should have, and in fact any leader should have at the end of the day. And you have that, and I would assume that the recognition would automatically follow. It's not necessary that one needs to go for it. It would actually follow you at the end of the day. And this is how I've seen it, and this is the humble way that I have learned it. Good question, but to me, I think the answer lies in oneself.
I also want to go on this. We are a very regulated sector, and that's where our expertise comes. So what we do as all in-house lawyers is we bring in a lot of nuances which business has not seen in any deal or any litigation or any advice. And that's where our value is recognized in the organization. I can give multiple examples. So I have myself negotiated a lot of M&A deals, a lot of in-licensing deal, a lot of out-licensing deal, which is core to our business. And I can tell you that I was far better negotiator in relation to our rights and obligations than a pure BD person. Because I could tell the BD person that this is what other business team or other legal team is saying. If you add this particular aspect, this is how you can save your business. This is how you can expand. Just to give an example, a simple thing of negotiating exclusivity, non-exclusivity, expanding a business, ROFO, ROFR on product. I can just go on this. Whether if we are out licensing, whether we should give other person right to our medicine in other territory. If we are taking a right, whether giving other person, whether taking from other person right of ROFO in any other territory. So these are the business legal things which we bring to the table and create value for ourselves. So in my view, the best thing which you can do, learn the business, because legal comes to you naturally. Learn the business, and then you see your contribution and recognition in your company, because that's where your expertise will lie and you will be very, very unique.
Right. I think that's very well put, Bhaskar and Vivek and Tuhin. I hope that answers your question. I think you also I think touch upon some of the points like saving cost and kind of regulatory penalties, etc., by identifying them upfront, tackling them. So I think all of this, if I think we keep on doing, I'm sure people will see at the end of the day the value addition you bring to the table as in-house general counsel, and that will be appreciated. So moving on, I think to the next question. I think this is Vivek, for you. What are the most important legal issues your business faces? For example, cybersecurity, compliance, data privacy, IP, litigation tax, CSR, etc. The key ones. I think you touched upon it at the very outset. I think when you gave a brief overview, but being mindful of the time, if you can just give a quick snapshot, that would be great.
So the biggest legal issue is regulation for us. But in addition to that, that's known and that has been there for the longest time, right? Because that's how our business is written. But nowadays, we were doing a risk profiling in relation to our company, and we always every quarter we review if there are new risks emerging. One of the biggest risks is cybersecurity. We were talking about, and very, very interestingly, we were talking about, there was a announcement on stock exchanges that Sun Pharmaceutical got cyber attacked. In 2020, Dr. Reddy's got cyber attacked, my own company. I think around same time, Cipla also got cyber attacked. So those cyber attacks are very random, and that's what we feel that they were random. But what we were also talking about, cyber attacks, targeted cyber attacks. So let's say one Chinese company decides tomorrow that I want to steal everything from Dr. Reddy's, or from a specific company. So cyber attack is one of the biggest threat which is there, because everything is now is getting digital. Either your data, manufacturing data, it can literally halt everything in relation to the company. It can compromise business fully. Consider that right now even banks are online. The way you do the payment, right? It can halt that business fully. Other important aspect in the which we identify is ethical compliances. We operate in multiple jurisdictions, and bribery and ethical compliances is one of the biggest aspects which can halt our business. Privacy, I have my own take on it, and I can tell you that is one of the emerging sectors which will change the way each company in this world does business. Consider that in 1991 we went into globalization, and we were talking about globalization until 2000 around that. But then this protectionism came in, and people are now talking about protectionism. So think broadly. Privacy is an act of protectionism rather than globalization, and it changes the way you do business, because consider that you are a company sitting in India, but you want to transfer and get the data processed in China, in Japan, in Australia. Kind of restriction it has. In my view, right now the restriction is only on transferring of personal data. This is going to increase over the period of time. This may extend to transferring of manufacturing data, transferring of your systems, machines, or whatever, right? So in my view, privacy is going to become one of the biggest issues. I can go on, there are multiple issues, but cybersecurity, compliances, privacy, three aspects in addition to regulations.
Excellent. I think one last question for Bhaskar before we take audience questions. There are a lot of them, so I want to spend 10 odd minutes dealing with that. But Bhaskar, one critical question for you. Of course, given a lot of work, you do work with external counsels. How do you evaluate the performance of external counsels, and how do you make them accountable?
Yes, of course, infrastructure demands working with legal is a very core function, and then we work with almost all of the law firms in India and abroad as well. I will answer the second question first, that how do you make them accountable. The external counsels are integral part of the things that we do. It's not that we have done this through our trust, we have done this through our relationships. The external counsels who are involved with us have been involved with us for a very, very, very long time. They get involved at the very beginning. They get involved at the very, very inception stage of any business or any new things that we do, so that they understand the core of the business per se. They become accountable because they become part of us. They are never seen as somebody who's just providing a legal advice or something. They are seen as providing a solution to the business, and that's how they become accountable for. How do you evaluate their performance? We evaluate their performance not at the end of the year or at the beginning or not at any given point of time. We are very, very closely involved with them. We provide the right advice, we provide the right solutions to them, and our internal in-house legal team becomes a cord between the business and the external counsels. It's not, and I would like to bring one point here, is that it's not important that you go back and tell them when things have not gone right. You have to go back and give a feedback when things have gone right as well. That becomes very important. So we make it a point that when the external counsel supports us and we win a case, we always have we go meet them, we have a dinner with them, we have to show our gratitude to them, and that's how you build the relationships. So the feedback is always not when it is bad times you have to give a feedback. Even if it is good, you need to give a feedback. That's point one. Second thing is, many a times the problems could be because of we have not provided the right issues to them, and things would have gone might not have gone the way in which we want. So it is a two-way communication. It's a feedback from there to us as well. So we go sit with them. We are open for everything, when things are not at the right place, we sit with them to understand where we have gone wrong, how we correct ourselves at the end of the day. So the point here that I'm making here is that it is the trust and relationship that you work with, because at the end of the day, the external counsels, they come and then they participate in our success story. So what is really important for us is to build the right relationships, is to give the right feedback, to summarize one, even if, at all points of time, if they have done a good job, go and appreciate them, spend time with them to thank them for what they have contributed. And more importantly, it is a two-way in terms of getting a feedback. Where we have not done things correctly, it is time for us to correct ourselves so that we build the relationship going forward. This is how we do it, and this is how we have been successful as well at GMR.
Excellent. I think that's very helpful, Bhaskar. I think especially what I liked is that when the proverbial dunk hits the fan, obviously counsels get a dressing down. But I think when things are going well, you celebrate your successes. That helps in building a strong equation, a long-term equation. More importantly, I think that's something really important. I think also speaks volumes of the kind of person you are. I think the organization as an individual both. So that's very heartening to note. I think let's now go to some audience questions, some interesting ones, tech driven. Again, I think Tuhina is very proactive. She's asking one more question, and this is either one of you can take. This is why I'm taking this, because it's AI driven. The question is, what measures are you implementing as general counsels in your organizations to address the legal and regulatory implications of widespread adoption of AI in day-to-day business operations?
Go ahead, Vivek. That's more appropriate for you.
Sure. So we are a highly tech-driven company. We are going digital leaps and bounds every day. The discussion which we have for my legal team and my tech team today is that how can we implement AI to ease a lot of things at legal and compliance level. So just to give an example, as we speak, we have already created a chatbot. We are implementing it in our function, where this chatbot will have all the policies, and it will be AI-driven chatbot. So it will automatically upgrade its knowledge based on the questions. And that's why I wanted to tell you that this is AI-based. So if you ask, give me, if I want to gift a healthcare professional 1,000 rupees, tell me the policy. So this chatbot, the vision is this chatbot will tell you that this is what gift and hospitality says, policy says, this is what marketing code says, this is what law is or regulation is if it is built in some way. So we are adopting AI in every aspect, and we want to go it that way. What we feel is that it will solve a lot of problems. It will declutter a lot of issues at our end and at our company's end. It will also make people more focused, because it will eliminate repetitive questions which we get everyday basis from different people. So we are doing a lot of things in relation to AI, and we feel that the faster you adopt, the better will be for your organization, because this is one technology which is certainly going to help you in decluttering a lot of routine work, so that you can focus on the core. In relation to core also, it will give you a lot of visibility. So just to give an example, I was talking to a legal tech lawyer and who was trying to develop some technology. So one example is very, very common, that if you want to see that before a specific judge, which lawyer has got more positive outcomes versus negative outcomes. So you can see the judgments and you can see a probability. Those kind of legal texts are available, very useful. Then if you want to summarize a judgment automatically, you download and the summarization happens, so that you don't have to rely on somebody for drafting it number of hours. So I'm just trying to tell you there are multiple use cases right now which are evolving, and they are amazing. And why not? If technology is giving you ease, then why not? This interaction is ease which technology has given us. Why not adopt it?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think this topic in itself perhaps deserves another webinar, AI and how we can help our own lives in the legal space, given the breakneck speed at which things are developing every day, right? I mean, so it's quite fascinating. Bhaskar, the next question for you, I think this is somebody is asking, how do you monitor internal client satisfaction with the in-house teamwork, and what steps can you take to improve client satisfaction internally?
Well, I guess the answer is to me, I think, very simple. It's not, we never look at as something that we provide an advice, because we are integral to this entire thing that's happening. We look at business as a whole, and then we are one part of this entire aspect. So we don't differentiate ourselves that, okay, we provide some legal advice and therefore I need to satisfy the other person. No, I need to satisfy myself first, because I am a business person first, then a lawyer, and that's how we look at ourselves. So therefore, we are very closely involved in the business activities, and we are very closely involved in terms of having an alignment with the business. Whenever we provide the support, we provide the advice to them. The most important aspect, in my view, is that this is just not the question for a lawyer or somebody, for anybody for that matter, would be that the speed in which you come back and provide your response. Many a times what happens is that we lawyers, we tend to delay things. We tend to delay it for the perfection. Not necessary in the sense like, you need to take so much time for you to get 100% right. Because at the end of the day, when a business person is looking at something, right, he wants a quick answer to say an yes or no and things like this. So how soon you can go back and understand the crux of this whole thing, and then giving the response at that point of time. If you don't have the response, go back and tell him that, look, I'm going to take this much time. I've got to go and then do certain research and then come back. But my preliminary response is this. But by this time, I will come back and give you a comprehensive, answer to you. At that, the way in which you respond becomes very important. Again, all those things at the end of the day is the trust and relationship. Today, if you build the trust, if you build the relationship, you build the connect with each other, then the responsiveness that you have in terms of the quick and the swift answers that you provide, all those things will go towards building in terms of a client satisfaction at the end of the day. There is no right or wrong answer to this. It's a question of how you evolve with your folks in your organization, how connected you are to your folks in the organization becomes important. And all those things mean sacrifice at the end of the day. You have to sacrifice in terms of your time commitment, in terms of the extra step that you take in terms of doing the right things. And these are all the things that as a not as a lawyer, but as any leader that one would have. And it is no different for a lawyer, in my view, as that of any other function or any other any other sector.
Prasanjit, just one comment from my side. We do voice of customer surveys for our business leaders, and we do it cluster wise, and we also do it globally. So voice of customer is very important for us to understand their satisfaction, and where we also keep a text if somebody wants to specifically mention something. And we also measure that from last time, this time, how much is the score. So we do measure that how our internal customers are feeling through voice of customer, through surveys.
Excellent. No, I think that's very useful suggestions, and also goes on to show that to be bankable you have to sacrifice a lot, and that's something I fully understand. I think nothing comes easy. If you want to be the pillar of strength and really kind of be the go-to person or team for management, really you have to put in the hard yards, be pragmatic, and really go the extra mile. One last question. I'm mindful of the time. I think we'll wrap up in 10 minutes. We started a couple of minutes late. One last question before I request Vivek and Bhaskar to share 3 key takeaways from this wonderful session so far. Vivek, this one for you. Somebody has clearly read the ACC survey. Now they have picked on one aspect, which is hiring, but they are saying that the survey delves into the topic of hiring and has concluded that a lower percentage of general counsels expect to increase hiring across several positions. A, do you agree? And B, how do you foresee and envisage the future of the size or structure of in-house legal team changing? If you can just in a couple of minutes share your thoughts on this rather interesting question.
So we do hiring globally, and so I can certainly share insights on that. I am not sure whether you can read ACC survey just like that. You need to see it that how many percentage of people from which territory responded. So just to give an example, maybe the 70% of people in ACC survey came from US, and they feel US hiring is gonna slow versus India. So I think you need to see the data behind the survey results rather than painting a broad-based picture. This is how it's gonna go globally. In my view, this will balance over the period of time. So just to give an example, if a size of business in one territory says that for 100 million you should have a 1 lawyer or 2 lawyer, while in some territory there are 5 lawyers, and while in some territory there's 1 lawyer, this is gonna balance out. So it depends upon company. It depends upon jurisdiction. There are jurisdictions which are very, very complex. So just to give an example, Russia CIS region, very, very complex. So for anything for which you require 1 lawyer in India, probably you will require 2 lawyers in Russia. I'm just giving an example. So I don't think answer is straight away hiring is gonna slow down. In my view, it's gonna balance out. It depends upon company. It will also depend upon emergence of AI as a technology, that how eased out this technology gives you the result. So I don't agree with the result as such. I think we need to see from country to country and company to company both.
Right. Well, clearly, I think when you participated in the survey, you're not one of those who did this response. I think
Yes, I did not.
Yeah, because as you very rightly said, the survey is not really kind of absolutely accurate to say that all countries across all sectors will have the same approach towards hiring. I think it's a very fair point you made. I think with that, I think it's been such a thought-provoking event. So many points you have touched upon, wonderfully articulated. Now I hate to do this, but 3 key takeaways each is like a rapid-fire round. Can you do 3 key takeaways each to recap? Let's say, what are the 3 most fundamental points? Bhaskar and then Vivek.
Bhaskar, over to you.
I guess to me, I think it's hard to pick 3, but I can give you that there is no substitute for hard work. I guess knowledge is the fundamental aspect for every lawyer, and one has to focus in building the right knowledge, and that's one. Second aspect, in my view, is the result orientation. At the end of the day, you have to provide meaningful solutions, just not legal solutions, but it's not a legal advice, but you have to provide legal solutions at the end of the day. This is the second aspect I would say. The third aspect is that humility and integrity, exceptionally important at the end of the day. It doesn't matter how successful you are. It matters, your integrity and honesty and humility are the things that you can never give up at any point. Apart from these 3, I would like to add one more, Sanjit, if you allow me to do, and is that it's never an individual success at the end of the day. It is the success of your team, and it's how you empower people. People come and join with a lot of expectations. How do you empower them? How do you give them the space to work with? How do you enable them to learn and grow is very, very important. As leaders, it is exceptionally important. So if I have to, 1, hard work, knowledge; 2, result orientation; 3, humility and integrity, all coupled with the empowerment that you offer to the people. So these are all the 4 things that I take it as as the key things. And I would like to share it with to the larger audience.
Very well put. Very well put, Bhaskar. Vivek, your key takeaways.
So first of all, I agree with what Bhaskar said, but I have a different aspect. So Bhaskar touched upon a behavior of lawyers, right? Basically behavioral aspect, that how can you support business. My key takeaways are entirely different than I thinking business perspective. In my view, my key takeaway is that AI is gonna change the way we work today, and it will not be very far. I can tell you, next 5 years you will see the adoption of AI in many aspects. Just to give you a very small example, WhatsApp, very simple technology, has changed the way people work globally. I have some friends who actually do business on WhatsApp and nothing else. They sit at home and do business at WhatsApp. and then they call it WhatsApp business. They click a picture, they send to someone, get approval, get payment on WhatsApp, make payment to their supplier, right? So AI is gonna change the way everyone works, including lawyers. Don't think that it's very far away, 5 years. You see and watch. Point number one. Point number two, in my view, compliance is gonna take a larger seat on the table than it has today. And I can see it at least in my business, in my organization. Ethical compliances, anti-bribery, anti-corruption, those kind of issues are gonna take larger seat at the table. I have heard a comment from one of the key business stakeholders who is at CEO level in my organization, saying that I'm more worried about compliance than legal, because legal can slow down my business while compliance can halt the business. So think about it, how business leaders are thinking in India, that compliance is going to take priority. Third thing, that, you know, cyber security and data privacy are two things which you should watch out for. Privacy is act of protectionism. I keep saying it's going to make your life more difficult, and cyber security is going to keep you awake at night. So these two things watch out for. These are my takeaways from this, which I want to share with the.
Well, again, very well put, Vivek. Very good roundup. I think that both were very, very insightful. I think before we close, I think I will request Mitesh, if you can put up the poll slide. I will request each one of the audience members to respond to the poll slide on your screen to provide feedback on today's webinar. We take it very seriously as part of our continuous improvement. So we'll have a minute. I think then we will conclude the session with a round of thank you and the next steps from here on. So just give a minute. There you go. So thank you everyone who participated in the poll. Finally, you know, I would like to thank Bhaskar and Vivek, who were outstanding and bringing every bit of the experience into play and sharing so generously with all of us, you know, their experience, their thoughts, and giving their time and attention. I hope all of you found the webinar super interesting and a worthwhile investment of your valuable time. We certainly thoroughly enjoyed bringing it to you. After the webinar, we will send you, as I mentioned, copy of the recording, a summary notes recapping everything we discussed in a bullet form format, the ACC webinar, the ACC report as well along with that, and a presentation. You will also receive a separate feedback form, you know, which you will get. Please share your comments, criticism, and even compliments. It will barely take less than a minute, so please do that. If you're interested in in-house training or any other matters arising from this particular webinar, please do not hesitate to contact us. Our contact details are at the end of the slide, which you can see on the screen. Thank you again for your attendance today. We look forward to being with you again at the In-House Counsel Forum. Until then, I wish you all the very best. Stay safe, take care, and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.